Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, April 16th, and we have a lot of things to go over today. With our task card, we're going to check math for today, and then we also are going to do our review lesson for the end of topic 12. So on our Thursday page today, switch myself over here. We have a morning work page 121. We're going to correct our math for today together, so make sure you can get that out. You're continuing with Spelling City if you haven't finished that. And then you have ReadWorks article, Reptiles and Mammals. Now, I put them in order this way because it showed that to me on ReadWorks when I set up your assignments that was the order it was going to go into. But I've heard from some of you that you're getting a different order. So that's okay. Go ahead and do whichever one comes up on your assignment day each day, and just as long as we get them all finished by the end of the week. So don't worry if you don't have the exact article that I have written down for the day. That was just how it had presented it to me when I assigned it. Okay, and then we have our grammar task cards activity page. And then you'll have a lesson 3 for your Google Classroom informational writing. So far, I've seen several of yours, and they look great. So I'm excited about that. If you haven't logged into Google Classroom, make sure that you try to get that because you have a few assignments already in there. And so you're just using your email, and you can use the link that I sent you on Tuesday to join Google Classroom. And of course, if you have any trouble, let me know. And then I've heard that several of you have gotten your bags picked up from the school. So that's good. I hope you liked your bag and your little treat in there. It wasn't much, but a little something. And it was sad to clean out our classroom and know that you guys wouldn't be coming back in there, but it's still too emotional for me to talk about. So I will move on so that we can get our lesson done for today. But I miss you guys more than you have any idea. And so we have our Envision Math Lesson Review pages today. And then, of course, marking off your daily assignment checkoff. So let's go to our morning work. Today we're going to be putting in good, better, or best to make the sentence complete. And we've already worked on our comparative and superlatives and grammar, so this shouldn't be too difficult for anyone. So number 1 says, everyone at the party said the music was good, better, or best. We give our dog Coco the good, better, or best dog bones we can find. Lei Mei thought the movie was good, better, or best the second time she saw it. The pasta tasted good, better, or best, but the corn tasted good, better, or best. All right. Number 5 through 8. In our math, we're going to be writing milliliters or liters to tell the easiest way to measure the liquid volume of each object. So if you've got a little bottle of medicine, do you think that would be milliliters or liters? So if you've seen the 2-liter bottles of pop, about that big, that's 2 liters of pop. So thinking about a medicine bottle, they're probably not quite a liter. Would you want to measure the water in the bathtub in milliliters or liters? Then we have a carton of milk. Would that be milliliters or liters? And then number 8 is a little, looks like a little dropper of ink or a little dropper of oil. Would that be milliliters or liters? All right. And then read the text and answer the questions. The question says, how can you tell that the genre of this story is historical fiction? So how can you tell that the type of story is a historical fiction? Meaning it's a made-up story, but it's based in history. The men on horses hunt elk and in canoes catch muskrats for the tribe's feast tonight. Some of the women are picking berries, and others are catching crawfish in the river with handmade nets. Turtle and frog meat will also be served. The meat will be cooked in an underground clay oven. It's a special event because the nearby French settlers will join the tribe. Ever since the French and Indian War ended a few years ago in 1763, the feasts have been a way to celebrate peace. So how can you tell that the genre of this story is historical fiction? So we've got some dates in there and some mention of the way things were that might not be the same as they are for us now. All right, as soon as you finish that, you can grab out your task card page. We're going to be doing capitalizing book titles. So let's go to that. All right, so we have capitalizing book titles, task cards. Let's go to number 1. So it says, how do you correctly write the book title, A Million Ways Home? So thinking about how do we capitalize a title of a book, A Million Ways Home? And number 2, how do you correctly write the book title, Tale of Despero? So if you can remember also, if you're capitalizing, if you also want to include when you would underline for books and movies, or when you would use quotations for songs or poems, that would be good practice as well. All right, number 3 is, how do you correctly write the book title, The One and Only Ivan? So you're going to need to use that space to write those in the right way. And if for any reason that's too small, you might have to just write them a little bigger, write it on the back, write it on a separate piece of paper, and just number them 1 through 24. There's usually 24 cards. Number 4, how do you correctly write the book title, The World According to Humphrey? We read that book. We enjoyed that a lot. I know Avery had that as a goal to read all of those books this year. I'm wondering how many of you are still keeping your goals of reading, which would be great practice for you. All right. Number 5 says, how do you correctly write the book title, Diary of a Wimpy Kid? So remember, on certain words, we don't capitalize in a title. If they are an article adjective, a conjunction, a preposition, those words we don't need to capitalize. Usually they are less than 4 letters. But if it is a word like who or you, those are pronouns. So nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, we always capitalize. How do you correctly write the book title, Because of Winn-Dixie? So because is a conjunction and a preposition, but because it is the beginning of a sentence, how do we write that? Remember, you can always pause and do these slowly, and then that way we can go on right now, and then you can slowly go through it. Number 7, how do you correctly write the book title, Dear Mr. Henshaw? That's a good book. And then number 8, how do you correctly write the book title, The Mouse and the Motorcycle? We've read that book. That was the first one in the trilogy of The Mouse and the Motorcycle series. One of our favorites. All right, so we're on to number 9. How do you correctly write the book title, Super Fudge? I haven't read that book, but that one's a great one as well. Super Fudge. Number 10, how do you correctly write the book title, The Boxcar Children? I know some of you have read that. That's a great story as well. The Boxcar Children. Number 11, we have one of the Magic Treehouse books titles here. How do you correctly write the book title, Dinosaurs at Dawn? And number 12, how do you correctly write the book title Lemonade War? That's a good one that we've had in our library as well. Oh, it's exciting to see some of these books we've read this year. Number 13, how do we correctly write the book title Sideways Stories from Wayside School? Sideways Stories from Wayside School. We loved that book. That was fun. Number 14, how do you correctly write the book title Little House on the Prairie? Such a good book and a great TV show. Number 15, how do you correctly write the book title Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? So I know today's task card, we're going to have a lot more writing to do, but it's good practice for you. We will be having a test on Friday, so it's good practice for you to do that right now. And number 16, how do you correctly write the book title The Cat and the Hat? We read that on Dr. Seuss's birthday and watched the movie. Number 17, how do you correctly write the book title Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? It's another interesting book and movie. Number 18 says, how do you correctly write the book title First Day Jitters? I believe we read that the first week of school. And then number 19, how do you correctly write the book title Miss Daisy is Crazy? So those are those wacky books. I know that Katie's been reading quite a few of those, and so those are a lot of fun ones. So Miss Daisy is Crazy. I'm not sure how many Katie read this year, but those are fun ones. And then number 20, we read this one as well. How do you correctly write the book title Third Grade Angels? We read a lot of books this year, which is my favorite thing to do. Number 21, how do you correctly write the book title Ramona and Her Father? And number 22, how do you correctly write the book title Amelia Bedelia Means Business? Those are silly books. I love those books. And number 23, how do you correctly write the book title Charlotte's Web? Our first book that we did together this school year. And it was also in your worksheet from yesterday. So that one should be pretty easy. And number 24, how do you correctly write the book title Sarah Plain and Tall? Which is also a very nice book too. All right, so you can back up this video and go through any of the cards again that you need to. Practice those and get those written down. It's a very small space, I realize. So try your best to get that in there. And then at the end of our video, we'll go over the answer key. All right, let's go back here. All right, we have our math for today we're going to check. So if you'll grab that out. Okay, so it says day 1. Let's see if I can get a little text box drawn here. 396 plus 474. So typically I want to line these up. Just a little bit. 196. I'm going to draw a little line under that. Ooh, that's a messy line. Let's try that again. Goodness. Boy, that's a messy one. Okay. So 4 plus 6 is 10. Okay. See if I can get my cursor to behave again here. All right, so 4 plus 6 is 10. We carry the 1 up here above. And so let me get my little 1 here. All right, so 1 plus 7 plus 9. So 1 plus 9 we know is 10, and 10 plus 7 would be 17. There we go. All right, 17. And then we carry the 1 again. And then 1 plus 4 plus 3 is 8. So your answer should be 870. Okay, so on this one we have 2 shapes that are broken into 2 parts each. So how many available parts do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 available pieces. So 4 is our answer. All right. Round each number to the nearest 10 and then add. So we have 701. We look at the 1. Is that enough to help us go to 710, or did that bring us down to 700? So that should be 700, and we're going to be adding it to 109. Is that almost 110, or is that almost 100? It's closest to 110, and that is going to equal 0 plus 0 is 0. And 1 plus 0 is 1. And 7 plus 1 is 8. So it should be about 810. All right. Right, greater than, less than, or equal to make the statement true. So with this piece, which is 1 out of 6, be greater than, less than, or equal to a piece that is a third. So remember, we were talking about a fraction. When the denominator is a small number, it actually means a bigger piece. So when you're looking at this, if this was pizza, your favorite pizza, would you rather have this piece or this piece of your favorite pizza? So I would guess that you'd want this piece. So we're going to draw in our 1/6 is less than 1/3. Okay. How many inches long is the straw? So I think we tried to get pretty close. Let's see if I can get even closer. All right. And it looks like it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1/4. So we have 8 and 1/4 inches. All right. 20 divided by 5 equals what? That'd be the same number as 5 times this number equals 20. So we're looking for the number 4. 18 divided by 9 equals what? Or 9 times this number equals 18, and that would be 2. And 36 divided by 4 equals this number, or 4 times 9 equals 36. Divide the square into sixths. So we're going to break this up into 6 pieces. So if I go across the middle, break it in half, and then I go 2, boy, this is sloppy jalopy, 4, and 6. Now it says to label each one with the fraction. So we need 1/6 here, and we need 1/6 here. There. Okay. All right, 2 more to go. Okay. So we've divided it into 6 pieces, and then we've labeled all of the pieces. A group of 6 families attended a basketball game together. After the game, they went out to dinner. If there are 7 people in each family, how many people went to dinner? So we have 6 groups of 7, which equals 42 people altogether. All right. On day 3, so we are going to be doing the 8 times the 0 first. So as our text box is here, 8 times 0 is 0. And then we're going to take our 8 times our 7. Try that one more time. Our 8 times our 7. And we know that 8 times 7 is 56. 560. Now, if it's easier for you to do it another way, where we just drag 4 times 8, and we know that that is 32, then we can go back afterwards and do 4 times 0, and we know that that's 0, so it's 320. Same with this one. 8 times, or 7 times 8, we just did the opposite here, would be 56. And then the 7 times 0 would give you 0. So 560. All right, are these 2 fractions equivalent? So we have 3 out of 6, or half, and 1 out of 3. Are they equivalent fractions? So do you think that those are the same size? Well, if you looked here at this piece and then looked right here at this piece, let me see if I can trace that. So if you're looking at this piece here, and then you could take that right here and see it's the same as this amount, but this one has this whole piece here too. So our answer is no, they are not equivalent. They're not equal. Equivalent means equal. How many more students? So whenever I see how many more, that means we're going to be subtracting some numbers. How many more students like triangles than squares? So triangles, we have 9. So let's get our text box here. 9 minus, and triangles, so squares, where you've got 5. 9 minus 5 equals 4. 4 more like triangles. All right. On 42 divided by 6, or 42 divided by 6, or 6 times what is 42? Scooch this over here a little bit. And that would be 7. All right. And then 16 divided by 8 equals what? Or 8 times 2 equals 16. And then 7 times 4, if we do our song, 7, 14, 21, 28. That's our answer there. If you haven't been listening to your Number Rock Skips counting songs, you should be listening to those. Those are good for you. They use them a lot in 4th grade, so getting used to that would be really good at this time. All right, let's pick a thicker color to do. Shade the circle to show 7/8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So we're going to shade in all but one piece. So we just have one piece left. All right. Emma has 50 pictures in a box. She wants to put an equal number of pictures on each of the 10 pages of her photo album. How many pictures should Emma put on each page? So she's going to have a total of 50 pictures, and she's going to divide that among 10. So how many times would we count by 10 to get to 50? So we're looking at the 50, and then let me show you. I don't think I have a little divide sign here. It doesn't quite do it. So typically we just use the slash mark, which we have been using in our fractions, which actually does mean dividing. 50 divided by 10, or 10 times what? You would have 5 pictures on each page. And the last problem. Label 2/8 on the number line. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to go to the spot that shows the second one. Two eighths, and we need to write that fraction in under here. 2/8. And then it says to mark 7/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/8. All right, so how many of you got all of those? All right, check your work. You can use this test, this paper on your test on Friday. And you can go back to look at this throughout the video so you can see what the answers were. All right, that brings us to our review papers. So there's a page before it, like you just saw here. If you'd like to do that, it's excellent practice, very good practice. We're not going to go over it together right now, but we're going to go over page 658. So if you've picked up your things, you can work right in your workbook on page 658. So we're looking at this word list, and it says denominator, fraction, line plot, nearest fourth inch, nearest half inch, numerator, and unit fraction. So circle each unit fraction. So if we remember back, and you can look in your book if you have it, remember back to the very first lesson, we talked about what a unit fraction is. It means how much each piece is out of the whole one. So I'm going to go, actually, I have to go to this page so I can edit it on Lumens. That's the right page. Okay. I'm going to change how big this is and go back. All right, circle each unit fraction where each unit fraction. So we've got 1/4, that's a unit fraction, 1/6, and 1/8. Those are all unit fractions because a unit fraction is 1 out of the total amount. All right, circle each fraction where 6 is the denominator. So we see 3/6, 6/8, 8 is our denominator, 1/6, that's one, 5/6, and 4/8. Look, there's a pattern, they're both the same. Circle each fraction where 4 is the numerator. Well, 4 is the denominator on this problem. 4 is the numerator here. It's the number of parts that we are using out of the total number of parts available. 1/4, 4 is the denominator in that number. 3/4, 4 is the denominator in that number. 4/6, 4 is the numerator in that number. So you should have those circled. Now, these papers that we're doing right here, you will be able to use those on your big assessment next week. So that will be, I'm going to see if we can do that in Google Classroom, where it can just be turned in right away. We'll see. I'm going to work with that over the weekend, and I'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll have to do a printout, downloading that, and then sending me a picture of that at the end of the week. All right, circle the lengths that could be measurements to the nearest half inch. So 2.5, could that be? That is closest to the next half inch. Now, if we were at 3.5, would 4 possibly be the next? That would be 3 3/4. Would that be the closest half inch? It has to be a 2 at the bottom, or 4/4. No, that wouldn't work. 7 1/4, that would be the nearest fourth of an inch. 6 inches, if it was at 5.5, we could get to 6. That would be the next half inch. So they're measuring it as you're going along on a ruler, which would be the next half inch. Number 5, circle the lengths that could be measured to the nearest fourth inch. So 8 3/4, there's 4 pieces. So what would be the closest fourth? 1 1/4, 11 inches. Well, could be closest to the next fourth if it was at the end. 7 1/4, that would work. 6 inches, would that be the closest to the nearest fourth inch? If we were at 5 3/4, it could be. So they're all ones we could use to measure. Write always, sometimes, or never in the blanks. All right, so we're going to do a text box here. The numerator is the numerator in a fraction is greater than the denominator. Is that always, sometimes, or never? Well, remember, if we have 8 parts that are all cut into 2 pieces, that would be 8/2. Sometimes we can have that. So let's do sometimes. All right. You can also write it over here. A fraction blank has a numerator and a denominator. A fraction always, sometimes, or never has a numerator and a denominator. It is always. It always has a numerator and denominator if it's a fraction. Okay. And then a line plot always, sometimes, or never shows measurement of lengths. A line plot always shows measurement of lengths. Well, It could be some measurements of lengths. It could also be counting things too, like how many red crayons you have, or purple crayons, or how many different colors of crayons. So sometimes would be the right answer for that. And then number 9, use at least 2 terms from the word list to explain how to find the unit fraction of the shape shown below. So back up here again, we have denominator, fraction, line plot, nearest fourth inch, nearest half inch, numerator, and unit fraction. How could we describe that? Use at least 2 terms from the word list to explain how to find the unit fraction of the shape below. All right. So let's see, you could find the unit fraction of the shape by labeling each piece as 1 out of 6 pieces, where 1 is the numerator and 6 is the denominator. Any other things we could put in there? All right. Which make a fraction. All right, so if I went up here and I changed my color, I changed it to blue, and we go back here, let's look for all the words that we would have had up here. Denominator, fraction, line plot, nearest fourth inch, nearest half inch, numerator, unit fraction. So I have the word unit fraction. Oh, it's not working with me here. All right. That'll work better. Unit fraction. We're gonna it's not letting me. Just wants to move this. That's one of our words. Numerator is one of our words. Denominator is one of our words. Fraction is one of our words. There we go. All right, we're going to go to our reteaching page. Now remember, the left side is showing us examples, and the right side is where we answer questions. So this would be pages 659 through 662. All right. Section A says this is one way to divide a whole into fourths. So they've broken this up into fourths. There's a fourth, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Since each of the 4 parts has the same area, each part is 1/4 of the whole shape. You can write this fraction as 1/4. So because they're all the same size, each one is like taking 1 out of 4 pieces away. A unit fraction represents one of the equal parts. 1/4 is a unit fraction. So numerator, denominator equals. The numerator is the number of parts the fraction represents. The denominator is the total number of equal parts. In this case, 1/4. So it says, in 1 and 2, draw lines to divide the shape into the given number of equal parts. Then write the fraction that represents each part. All right. So we have 6 here, so we could do, let's see if I can fit that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it says write the fraction that represents one part. So 1 part would be 1/6. And this is broken into 2 parts. So we need to break this one into 2 parts. We could do a line there so they're the same shape. And each part is 1 out of 2 pieces, 1/2. Martin divides a shape into 3 equal parts. What unit fraction can he write to represent 1 part? So 3 equal parts. What would 1 part be? We're looking at 1 out of 3, or 1/3. All right, remember to pause if you need time to get this written down in your book. You can use this on your test, so please do it with me now because that won't be very helpful to try to do it later. All right, section B says, what fraction of this rectangle is shaded? The rectangle is divided into 8 equal parts, so the unit fraction of the rectangle is 1/8, so each part is equal of 1/8. In the whole rectangle, there are 8 parts of 1/8. 8 copies of 1/8 is 8 out of 8. If we have 8 out of 8, we have the whole thing. Remember, we had that lesson where it turns it to 1. For the shaded part, there are 6 parts of 1/8. 6 copies of 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 copies of 1/8. So 6/8 of the rectangle is shaded. All right. In 1 through 4, write the unit fraction that represents each part of the whole. Next, write the number of shaded parts. Then write the fraction of the whole that is shaded. All right, so we've got a few things to do here. First thing, what's the unit fraction? It's broken up into 3 pieces, so each piece is worth 1/3. The next question says, write the number of shaded parts. 1 part is shaded. All right, oopsie, spelled that wrong. There we go. And then it says, what's the fraction of this? So this is 1 part out of 3 parts are shaded. There we go. All right. The next one, write the unit fraction. The unit fraction is 1 out of how many total pieces? 6. Let me see if I can do it over here. Okay. And then it says how many parts are shaded. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts are shaded. And then it says what would the fraction be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 pieces are shaded. Make that a little bigger there. All right. Let's go to number 3. Looks like we lost our connection. We're going to try to keep going. Let's see if we can get that to come back. All right, let's go. Just a moment here. Well, for whatever reason, Lumen has decided to stop working. So we've lost all of our notes on this page. Of course, in the video, you can go back and look, but I'm not going to be able to write on any more of these. That is a bummer. So going over number 3, says what's the unit fraction? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that it's broken into. Each piece is worth 1 out of 4 pieces, so 1/4. How many parts are shaded? We have 1, 2, 3 parts that are shaded. And how many of the pieces are shaded out of all of the pieces that are available? We have 3 pieces over 4 pieces. 3 of them are shaded out of the 4 pieces. All right, number 4 shows 4 equal slides, and 2 of them are colored in and 2 are blank. So the unit fraction would be 4 things. Each one is worth 1/4. And then we have 2 pieces that are colored, so 2 parts are colored. And the third part is how many parts are shaded out of all the possible points. So you could say 2 out of the 4. Or even if you could imagine this piece sliding over here, you could even say half of it is colored in. But we need to show the 4 parts, so 2 out of 4 parts would be your best answer for that. On part C, it says this shape is 2/4 of a fabric Tina used in a quilt. You can draw a picture and write a fraction to represent the whole quilt. So 2/4 is 2 copies of 1/4. Divide the fabric into 2 equal parts. 4 copies of 1/4 makes 4/4 or 1 whole. Remember that the denominator shows the total number of equal parts in a whole. In number 1 and 2, draw a picture and write a fraction to represent the whole piece. So this is representing just 1 out of the 4 pieces. So we would need to draw some more pieces on here. Another one that would be the same size, that would be 2/4. Another one which would be 3/4, and another one which would be 4/4, or the whole thing. So draw as closely as you can to that shape and continue. Number 2 says 3/8. So this is 3 out of 8 pieces. So we could break this up into 3 1/8 pieces. So this would be 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. So we need to have how many more? Well, 8 minus 3 is 5. So we need to have 5 more little pieces that are 1/8 each. So you would draw that onto that. All right. Set D. You can show fractions on a number line. The fraction 5/6 is labeled. What are the missing fractions? So we would need, when we're looking over here, 0, 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. So that would be the ones you would label. All right, first find the unit fraction. The line is divided into 6 equal lengths, so the number line shows 6. Each jump represents 1/6. So the first tick mark is labeled 1/6. The second one is labeled 2/6, and then 3/6 and 4/6 and 5/6 and 6/6. The missing fractions on the number line are, just as we said, 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6. All right. Write the missing fractions on each number line. So we've gotten these broken up into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This spot right here is how many parts out of the 4? 1/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then if you wanted to include 4/4 at the end, but it doesn't have to be there. Just good practice. Number 2 says they are divided up into eighths. So as you're counting, this is the first eighth, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. So you're going to write those fractions there, and then divide the number line below into 3 equal parts and mark 2/3. So between here we have to do 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put a dot right here on the 2/3 mark. And you're going to put your 2/3 underneath that mark. Okay. Number lines can have fractions greater than 1. The number line below is divided into thirds. The denominator is 3 because the unit fraction is 1/3. The numerator shows how many copies of the unit fraction each point is. So each one between 0 and 1, they're broken up into 3 parts. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So 3/3 equals 1. Then if you have more, it's 4/3 and 5/3, and then you're at 2 or 6/3. What is 6 divided by 3? 2. 7/3, 8/3, 9/3. What's 9 divided by 3? 3 whole. All right, remember that the numerator increases by 1 because each part of the number line is one more copy of the unit fraction. So the number line has equal lengths marked, right? The missing fractions. So this is broken up into 6 pieces between the 0 and the 1. So the first piece would be 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6, 7/6, and then the last one is 8/6. Divide the number line into fourths, label each point. So between 0 and 1, we're going to break this into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Divide the number line into fourths and label each one. So each one would be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, 9/4, 10/4. So you're going to get that all the way colored or marked in. All right. I wish my lumens worked. It's kind of a pain. F says you can use a line plot to show data, such as lengths measured to the nearest ½ inch. Steps to make a line plot. Draw a number line and choose a scale. The scale should show data values from the least to the greatest. Write a title for the line plot and mark a dot for each value. So it says lengths of Lily's ribbons, 5.5, 4, 5.5, 4.5, and 3/4. So we're going to mark those on a line plot. So she had one that was a fourth, was 4 inches, excuse me. One that was, she had two that was 5.5, then 4.5, and 4 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're all represented there. All right, so the lengths of Carl's strings. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Draw a line plot to show the data. So we're going to make this line plot right here. We're going to write that here and go from the smallest to the largest number and get all of the numbers that are different on this line. And so we're going to start out with 3, and then 3 1/4, and then 3 1/2, and 3 1/3, and then 4, and then 2 3/4, 2 1/2, 2 1/2, and 4. So you're going to put all of those on there. How many strings does Carl have in all? So you're going to count them all. And then draw a line that is the same length as the most common string length. So which one happens the most often? And then grab a ruler and draw how long that would be. All right. And then G says you can measure to different lengths, such as the nearest ½ inch. The closest ½ inch mark to the right of the rectangle is the 2.5 inch mark. So in between, we broke it in half. 0, 1/2, 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3. It says measure and record the lengths of 5 classroom objects to the nearest ½ inch. Well, we aren't in the classroom at our normal classroom, but wherever your classroom is at home, find 5 objects and you're going to measure them to the nearest ½ inch. And then you're going to use objects that are between 1 and 3 inches long. So then you're going to draw a line plot after you've done the 5, and you're going to plot those 5 measurements on that number line. Try to get some variety. And the last one, think about these questions to help you make sense and persevere in solving problems. What do I need to find? What do I know? What's my plan for solving the problem? What else can I try if I get stuck? How can I check that my solution makes sense? So it says, remember to make sense of the problem by identifying the quantities. Then use what you know to solve. Gavin divided his notebook into 8 equal parts. He plans to use 3 parts to take notes for math and 2 parts for reading. He has school from 8:30 to 3:30. What fraction of his notebook does he have left? So let's look at that. Does it matter what time he goes to school? From 8:30 to 3:30, does that change anything? So that's part of the information they put in there that we ignore. Is there any missing or extra information? Look at that. First question. Yes. The extra question we have is he has school from 8:30 to 3:30. We really don't know that or need to know that. What do we not know that we wish we could know? Let's look at that again. Gavin divided his notebook into 8 equal parts. He plans to use the 3 parts to take notes for math and 2 parts for reading. So 3 plus 2 is 5, but it says here 8 equal parts. So something missing. What does he do with the other 3 parts? So we didn't need to know what time they were going to do their schoolwork, but we did need to know what did they do with the other 3. Solve the problem. If information you need is missing, make up some reasonable information for the problem, and you can draw a picture to help. So you can draw down here. So if it says that he's using his notebook to do 3 parts to take notes for math and 2 parts for reading, and then the other 3 parts could be for writing, or science, or something else, you could do that. Or you could even divide it up as 1 part's for writing, 1 part's for social studies, 1 part's for science, because that's 3 more pieces. So do your sentence on that spot there. All right, guys. Today was a long one because we had a lesson. We had our task cards, and then our math lesson, and then correcting our math for today. Real quick, let's go back here and check our answers. So if you need to freeze on this page, notice that A is capitalized because it's the first word in the sentence. But in the second one, tale of, Desborough, of is a preposition. We don't need to capitalize that. The one and only Ivan, there's a conjunction. We don't need to capitalize the and. The world, according to Humphrey, to is just a preposition. We don't need to capitalize it. Same with Diary of a Wimpy Kid. We don't capitalize of and a. They're not needed to be capitalized to be part of the title. So go through here and check your answer and make sure that you have it correct. And that way you can be ready for our lesson on Friday, and our test on Friday, I should say. All right. All right, guys. So that's everything for today. If you have any questions, let me know. If you did not go into Google Classroom yesterday to get your worksheets done, that's where they are. As soon as you do them, you submit them to me and I can grade them and send them back. And then you have writing day 3 today in there. So you'll listen to the video, and then there's another slide, or maybe 2, but at least 1 slide where you're going to answer questions on that. All right, guys, I can't think of anything more that I need to tell you. If you have any questions, let me know. Keep working on Spelling City and ReadWorks. Check your iExcel. Make sure you have that done. And just have a fabulous day, guys. I hope things are going well. Please tell your parents thank you for being the teacher and helping out. And we will see you again in our read aloud today. All right, guys, great job. Keep it up.